Hi guys, Kevin Ellis Jr. here with the Apex Racing Academy with this track guide for Lime Rock Park in the Porsche Cup car. So obviously this one's going to be a bit of a quick one this week with it being such a short lap. So just to get straight into it, your first marker is going to be obviously this four-board on the left-hand side. You can see we're already starting to just lift off the throttle here and starting to brake on the four. So as we come down here, we're going to be eventually down towards third gear. But you're going to see actually when I get down here, we have a little bit of a moment on entry here. So obviously, I want to try and get as close to this curb on the inside as we can. Obviously, the whole way we're trailing off. So we're nice and slow up to threshold. By the two, we're at threshold. Then we start to gradually come off the brake. All we're trying to do here is just manage the weight. And obviously, from my eyes inside the car, I'm just trying to look at the trajectory that the car is heading in. And obviously, I'm going to then manipulate the throttle, the brake and the steering to obviously match that. So you can see we're turning left just a little bit on the way in. We just brush this curb on the inside, which then gives us sort of a four-wheel slide. Now on the Delta, we carried a lot of speed on entry here compared to what I had been doing, so it ended up working out just a little bit. But you can see just how wide the car ends up going away out to here. Now, if you look here, there's actually the track is pretty clean for the most part. You know, there's not really many marks on the circuit or anything like that. But when we come down, there's this sort of strange tire mark right around here that I ended up using as a throttle pickup point. So once the front of the car got to that, we picked up the power. And you can see just here how close we got to the grass on the outside. Actually left a bit of a mark on the track when we came back on. You can see just there. And through here, we're just sort of on the throttle, off the throttle, sort of giving it off and on, just to try and get some rotation through this right-hander. And then once you come past once you get to the end of the curb on the right-hand side there, up to 100% throttle, up the curb on the left, and then you sort of end up in the middle of the track here, which is absolutely fine. Now, into here in terms of braking, it's a little bit strange, it's a little bit messy in here as well. There's a lot of sort of tire marks that go over each other, but you can see there's one that sort of shoots across to the left in front of all of them. I was just basically using that as a bit of a reference when the right front of the car got to about here. There's a line that comes across the track and then this tire mark that goes off at a sort of diagonal angle, at a 45-degree angle. We're basically just braking on that, and into this corner here, I'm downshifting just into third gear, which you can just see the top of it there. So we're in third gear through here, trailing brakes the full way, and then right before we get to the start of the curb on the inside, I'm going to start picking up throttle. Through here, I'm just again going to start manipulating the throttle just to try and get the thing to turn a little bit, and you want to keep it nice and tight to the left-hand side on the exit, which you can see we have done just here. You don't really want to track out any here, you want to try and keep it as tight as possible. Up to full throttle, and then it's a lift off and a little tiny dab of brake. It's just to get some weight over the front end, just to get the nose turning. And it's just this one tire mark right here that we use as that bit of a marker for that. You can see just before we get to the start of it, it's basically where I'm going over it. Then, in terms of picking up throttle, it's just basically as soon as the car gets to into the compression, obviously have a look at your VRS telemetry analysis and see how that's looking compared to mine. But then you can see here, there's a big moment as the car gets light over the exit. And then strangely here as well, you feel the car get loose again. I'm not really sure why it does that. I think it's just the camber in the road here. It's sort of negatively cambered down to the left here as you get up here. So on the exit, just watch for that. It's going to be a little bit light back there, and then here again, it will get light right when you think you're in the clear, home and dry. So into the fast right-hander then. This is a pretty fun corner. Braking just before the start of this curb on the left-hand side here, so you can see just where we start to bring the throttle off and put the brake on, and we're down into fourth gear. So into here again, it's basically as you hit the apex, you bring the throttle in. If you look close, actually, you can see there's a bit of a tire mark on the curb here on the inside. By all means, use that. That's basically where I'm bringing the power in here. So keep an eye out for that when you come in here. Just look for the tire mark on the curb on the inside. Bring the throttle in. Base it up to 100% throttle straight away, and then a short shift into fifth. And then right here, the car is going to come off the ground. You can see here how high the front end sort of comes off the ground. As we kind of spin that around and have a bit of a look at it. Yeah, you can see the car popping a pretty fat wheelie there, which is pretty cool, I guess. But yeah, for the most part, as we come up over here, you're going to short shift into fifth. You will land sort of on the tarmac, and then you'll end up on the grass. But as long as you don't run too wide, you should be absolutely fine. As we come down towards the second last corner, then you can see all these tire marks on the inside up here. Just, basically, if you were to draw a line across the track, I'm just trying to judge it as I'm coming in here when the front of my car gets to them. You can see where I'm braking, or I guess it's more threshold by the start of these is probably a bit more accurate, because obviously you can see from here we're quite a ways out when we actually start braking. So I'm getting to throttle by the time I get to the start of those lines, which you can see here if we look at the brake input here. Really doesn't change, we're already starting to trail off, and we're going to bring it in here in 4th gear again. As we hit the apex curb, you can see there's this sort of access road on the inside, which we can use as a bit of a throttle pickup point as well. Once the front of the car gets to that, or just before we get to the start of that access road, you can see here we're bringing the throttle in as we get past it. Basically straight up to 100%, and then use the curb on the outside. Getting right back on before the end of the curb, there's a big drain right here, there's a big dip as well. If you hit that, it will severely damage the left front, and it will probably spit you off into the grass down the hill. Then, as we come down the hill into the final corner, you can see this line that goes right across the track. As you come over that, a little bit of brake on in 5th gear, just leave it in 5th here, and then once you get past the start of the curb, start to bring the throttle into it. Basically straight to 100%. There's on this circuit, on almost every single corner, there's like a groove, a little bit of cambered groove on the inside, right on like the white line next to the curb. And if you use that on the inside of basically every single corner, you're going to start to feel the car sort of rotate, and you can start to be able to pick up the throttle a little bit earlier, pick it up a little bit quicker, carry just a little bit more apex speed, trusting that the car is going to grip up and clip that little cambered bit right on the apex. But with that, guys, that is a lap of Lime Rock. As I said, going to be a short one this week, with obviously how little the track is, with not even 2.5 kilometers in 7 turns. So with that, guys, best of luck in your races this week, and we'll catch you again next week.